This episode is brought to you by D2C Design, your growth partner for high-performance e-commerce. If you're wondering what's holding back your Shopify store, D2C Design offers a free consultative conversion block report. That's right, no strings attached. Just contact them, set up a free call, and they'll break down exactly what your site needs. Again, D2C Design. All right, my next guest wrote the soundtrack of my junior high years.
Wow.
He's had hit songs like Why Did You Run Away? We Belong Together, the lead singer of Secret Society. Yo, what's up, brother?
What's going on? How are you?
We've been trying to do this for a while, my man.
Yeah, we've been going at it for like a month and a half or two.
Thanks for coming.
Crazy.
By the way, not only am I excited about talking about, for the first time ever, we have a pet on the show.
Daisy breaks the ice.
Daisy breaks the ice. A beautiful
little La Sapso.
Yeah, great dog.
Thank you, Daisy, for being here.
Dude, so tell me about your background and how the band came to be. You guys, had a great run and continue to perform, but I don't know your backstory.
Well, I studied music. I was a young kid. I went to South Miami Senior High. I used to sing.
Cobra.
Used to sing during going. Back in the days when we were in school, there was like 5-6 different classes. You'd be for an hour or 55 minutes at each class, and then get your books, go to the next class. Get your books, go to the next class. And then I would sing through the hallways. And one day I remember I was going to biology, that I remember. And the chorus teacher listens to me and she says, "Hello, young man, what's your name?" My name is Rudy. She goes, "You sing very pretty." And I go, "Are you in the chorus?" And I said, "I'm not." "Well, what is it? What do we have to do to get you into the chorus?" And I said, "I don't know." And she said, "Well, give me your student number and let me see what I could do." And then before you know it, she got me out of biology and I was no more in biology. I was in chorus.
Yeah.
Singing my butt off. And that was a lot of fun. And then, all those school plays and the little performances. And it's funny because what song got me she heard me singing, "Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend."
Yeah.
Remember that jam?
Yeah, of course, man.
And and those guys are still touring to this day.
Totally.
So I need to meet those guys and tell them, "Hey, man, you guys almost started my career."
That's pretty cool.
What was that guy's name? Conan or something?
Yeah.
Some great band. Anyways, and then, graduated from high school and I did 2 years at Miami-Dade College. I studied a little bit of music in Miami-Dade, but their program was not so advanced. And then my dad knew the dean of music at UM. And I was able to go in there too and then study voice principles with Don Bennett and become a much better singer than I am right now, thank God. And I was, I learned what music was really about and how theory worked. And then, I always say to everybody, if you're going to do something, do it right. You know? And music is a difficult thing. I know right now, the young kids out here are doing music and they're just doing music because the computers and the programs make it easy for you to do music, but they have no damn idea what they're playing on a keyboard. They're like, they don't even know why it works. Why does a D minor go really well with an F major? Like if I tell you that, you would say, "I don't know what you're talking about, really." Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about. But you're like a scientist when it comes to this.
It's because it's like, if you put, grenadine and I'm not a bartender, and sour mix on something and then a little vodka, you get right?
Right. You get a drink. Right.
So same thing.
So, we were talking earlier. Music is like breathing to you or brushing your teeth in the morning. You gave me the example of how you woke up today. Yeah.
Today. Yeah, I got up. The guitars always sitting there on a beautiful stand. I have a beautiful Cordoba. I have a Takamine. Those are my nylon, Spanish guitars, I suppose we say, la guitarra española, de cuerdas de nylon, nylon strings. And I love playing that because it's so organic. It's not the electric guitar through the pedals, the distortion, the delay, and, the compressor.
Yeah.
So it's that raw. If you sound good with a nylon string guitar, then you're for real.
Yeah, you're the real deal.
And I love doing scales in the morning. It's almost like doing sit-ups or crunches, or stretching your hamstrings as an older guy. And I pick it up. It's just I feel like I got to pick it up and play and hear something before starting the day, and it's relaxing, it's therapeutic. Like I was talking to your tech here today, and telling Frankie, always play it, man. It's gonna make you happy
every day. So the guitar is like an extension of your hand. It's always around. Or
I have one at work. I have one at work, ready to rock and roll when I want to rock and hit it hard and hear power chords, how they sound. And I got multiple delays. I got 2 distortion pedals. It's crazy. It's crazy. I have an analog man, and compressors and EQs.
You're a
and,
great guy to have around the office.
yeah.
You want a job here? Come on, man. Let's do it.
Exactly.
But that love of music started with your grandfather, right? He was a musician?
I started with my grandpa. My abuelo would play punto guajiro, which is like what you would call Cuban folk music. And he taught me how to do what he would do with his fingers. I found it so interesting. Like, how do you move your fingers like that?
Right.
You know? And he bought me a smaller scale because I was only 7. I grew up on the beach. My folks lived on the beach when we came from Cuba in 1962. And I grew up on the beach when the beach was just old Jewish people and old folks retired. Nothing on what the beach is today, South Beach. And I learned how to play punto guajiro. And I'm glad that as a matter of fact, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day about, may he rest in peace, but I thank him every day for, opening that door. Yeah. Which I've never I went through and I've never looked back.
That curiosity, so cool. What kicked it off. It's amazing.
It was amazing.
You graduate from UM, and then how did the band come together?
I graduate from UM and I start writing music. Okay. I tell my mom, I'm a poor kid, I got nothing. I don't have a job. I don't have nothing. I tell my mom, I want a drum machine. I need a drum machine and I need a keyboard because I had the guitar. I had the guitar at least. I had the guitar. And she says, well, how much is that stuff? And so I go to Ace Music back in the days. Ace Music on 135th and West Dixie Highway, North Miami.
Oh my God.
Where all the badasses would go. Yeah. Everybody would go to Ace Music. You're talking about Leonard Skinner, the Bee Gees, Julio Iglesias, Michael Jackson. I mean, if they needed something, because the Criteria recording studios were like 10 blocks down the road. Yeah. And so if you were at Criteria and you needed a new chord or you needed one of these microphones, you'd go to Ace to get it really quick and come back and do the session, Okay. So you would run into everybody. I ran into the Romantics, really, stuff like that. Yeah, really cool stuff.
Criteria, I mean, the Eagles,
the Bee Gees, Kansas,
Eric Clapton,
Michael Jackson, all of Gloria Estefan's hits.
Is it still there?
Miami Sound Machine. It's still there. It's called Hit Factory. And now it went back to Criteria.
No way.
It is still there. Trevor is still the man, who's great. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I said to her, the next track, because I got a Pro Tools Studio, badass, Ultimate, Pro Tools Ultimate. I got the baddest of the baddest. I mean, my interface is like $6,000. So I write everything you hear is, I do it out of my apartment, all the new stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put everything together, all the pre stuff, but I'm going to go to Criteria and just book Studio C, where we did We Belong Together and Find Yourself. And Why Did You Run Away? And I'm going to go there and just do the vocals there. Get the nice Newman 87, the vibe, like the vibe in your office right here, what we're doing now, the lighting. And it creates a cool mood that I really think it puts you in the pocket of the song. You know what I mean? That's really nice, because I can sing in my apartment, but it's an apartment. It's not a studio. Yeah. But you go to these studios and you see the beautiful boom stand. Yeah. And there's a piano in the corner. Cool. And you start soaking it in. Wow, there's a lot of magic happening.
There's a lot of magic. A lot of hits were made there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
those places have a spirit to them.
Yeah. They come with their personality, and hopefully some of it, rubs off.
Yeah. Some of that juju.
And you put a good vocal session together, and the engineer goes like this to you, like Frankie said right now. You guys are sounding really good in there. And you get excited and the ego boosts up and you say, oh man, I did it, and then you go back into the control room with the engineer and he says, you want to hear what you sound like? And and you say, damn, that sounds good,
So speaking of sound, you had a unique sound when you were coming up, because it was a bit of freestyle new wave. Is that what I'd be describing?
I would say you hit it on the head. Freestyle new wave. I love it. I love it. Yeah, because I was, as a young guy, I was listening to the Police, the Ramones, B-52s. I was leading to, don't get me wrong, I was listening to all that cool classic rock, the Aerosmiths, right. AC/DC, all those cool bands were on the radio with their hits. I mean, releasing those hits in real time. Yeah. I was growing up with that. I was listening to that in my Z28, with my Pioneer and my Blaupunkt, and the amp in the back. So I was listening to all that stuff, but I would see how that new wave sound, that British movement, would capture me, would capture me more than the typical rock and roll, like rock and roll stuff. So I started when I, had the guitars and had my, my guitars, I started playing, those Police songs, like The Message in a Bottle,
Yeah.
that riff, it's a nice riff from Andy Summers, who's a great guitar player. And you're playing this riff and you're playing a little of that and you're playing a little of this, and then you hear the Eurythmics with that vibe and Annie Lennox and my ears went to that. So when I started creating, like, the first song I ever wrote was Why Did You Run Away?
Uh-huh. And
it had just enough of Miami with like a little Euro-y, like you say, new wavy flair to it. Like, there's 20% new wave in there somewhere, like something like that, right?
So you put the band together and then you go after the sound, or you were already experimenting with the sound?
No, I was already kind of experimenting with the sound. I wrote a couple of songs before I even knew that I needed to put a band together.
Yeah.
So I wrote Why Did You Run Away?
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a song called Too Blind to See.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a song called Don't Make Love to a Stranger, and another song called I Try and I Try. I had 4 songs. Mm-hmm. I would put it together with a little Yamaha 4-track recorder, which was interesting how you would put things together back then. Yeah. You worked with what you had,
Yeah, man.
What was available. And I came up with Why Did You Run Away with the little hook, the bass line. My mom got me the Juno 106 Roland keyboard. It was badass. And I started hearing these sounds like, holy crap. And then, the bass lines. And, oh, wait a minute. This is a whole new ballgame, like then until I, don't. A little guitar thing. Then of course, you start doing beats on this RX-7 Yamaha RX-7 drum machine, and you're like, whoa, this sounds good.
Yeah.
So to me, it sounded good, but I wasn't sure, So when I put something together, I took it to a guy named Cito Llerena.
Uh-huh.
He had a place called Florida Record Pool.
Okay.
And then later after that, I found out that he was also the DJ of a club called Casanovas.
Why did I know Casanovas was going to come up in this conversation?
Exactly. He told me, hey, Casanovas is one of the biggest nightclubs in Miami.
Yeah.
So you might want to take this. Somebody told me, take this to Cito Llerena at Florida Record Pool. I didn't know. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. I'd never been to Casanovas.
Right.
I'm a 25-year-old guy, but I'd never been to Casanovas.
Yeah.
And I take it to Cito, and he hears it, and he says, "Dude, you got something really, really good here." And he goes, "It sounds just as good, if not better, than any Expose song that I've heard." Because I think Expose had a song out with that hook. That hook was very popular in a lot of those freestyle songs.
Yeah.
And before you know it, he played it. He goes, "Take this a minute to Carlos Meneses over at the Beat Club." Mm-hmm. And that was on Berg Road. It was like a teen bar. But this Carlos Meneses was a very cool new wave underground alternative music DJ.
Okay.
For those kids dressed in the black and Fire and Ice vibe, And I take it to him and he says, "Wow, dude, you got..." Same thing. I get a really cool response, which thank God, because you go in there so nervous.
Yeah, man.
And he says to me, "Man, I think you got a hit." He says to me, these were his words, "I think you have a hit here." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, you need to press vinyl." He told me, and I don't even know where to press vinyl.
Really?
I had no idea. So I went to my dad, who, my dad's a musician, and he's on the road with Willie Chirino.
Okay.
My dad's Willie Chirino's percussionist for 26 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's how I met Bobby, our saxophone player, because he was with Willie Chirino. And he's a really young saxophone player playing with these older cats.
Got it.
Because my dad, when I'm 25, my dad's around 50.
Yeah.
And, Bobby was in his 20s, because Bobby, I think, is a year older than me. And I said, I asked Bobby about, music. And then when I had Too Blind to See, I asked him about things. But, making the long story short, we had a hit. He said to me, "I think you got a hit here." And so I go to my dad. I go, "I got to press some records."
Yeah.
And he says, "Where do you do your records?" Because my dad would do records. My dad had a Latin jazz band called Walpataca, which was Walfredo de los Reyes, and his son plays as the drummer for Chicago.
Okay.
And Paco Echevarria, Cachao, the world-renowned Cuban bass player, and my dad on percussion. And they had an amazing quartet, Latin jazz. And my dad says, "No, we're going to go to Caribbean, Armada, and we're going to talk to Armada, and ¿cuántos discos te hacen falta? How many records do you need?" I said, "Dad, I need 1,000. And he says, "Damn," because I think back then it was like $250 a record.
Okay.
So you're talking about,
so you had to come up with a couple grand, right?
You need some money.
Yeah.
And anyways, to make a long story short, We pressed the records. I just wrote, "Why did you run away?" on a cover. I didn't have no artwork. I don't know how to do anything. I'm a rookie. And I take the record to...
And it's a single.
It's a single.
It's a
12-inch, what they would call a 12-inch single back in the days.
Yeah.
And I take it to Cito Llerena. He says, Cito Llerena alone needed like something like 50 records because he had 50 DJs that would go to his record pool to pick up their records every week or every other week and say, the record companies would distribute these records as promos. And you as a DJ would go in there, you remember, you pay your fee, your yearly fee, however that worked, your monthly. And you'd pick up maybe 5 records in your bin. It would have, let's say, DJ Dan from Club New, let's just say. And DJ Dan would come in and get his records and then go spin them on Friday and Saturday night and say, oh, this one I liked, this one I didn't, this one worked, this one didn't. So they went to pick up Why Did You Run Away, of course, right? So they went in the bin. I helped Cito put them in the bin. I was all excited, putting my records in the bin, and needless to say, maybe 2 to 3 weeks later, I get my first call from a club saying, hey, your record's slamming my dance floor. No way. How much is it for you to perform? And me, Dan, I'm like, well, I don't know.
What's the number?
I don't know what the going rate is on performers. And I only have the one song.
Right.
So they tell me, do you have an extended mix of the song so you could be on stage at least for 5 or 6 minutes? And I said, no, but I can probably do one. I had to go back into the studio, do a longer mix, get Cito Llerena to come in and put it together. Wow. Because I had no idea. Like I said, rookie. Yeah. I don't know what an extended mix needs to be sound like. And he put it together with a big intro, big middle break, big, outro and all that good stuff.
But this is just you at this point.
It's just me.
It's just you.
It's just me.
When does the band come together where you go, hey, I need a band?
The band comes together after Why Did You Run Away, where I'm kicking butt. And now I noticed that all the freestyle acts here in Miami, the people that were playing, would be like very synchronized moves on stage. It would be 3 girls or 2 guys, but they had background dancers. And that's not me.
That's not you.
That's not me. I'm a guitar guy. Listen to me. I'm not going to dance. I'm going to play the guitar really well.
You're a good front man. I've seen you.
Yeah. Well, I did you got your moves. I have my moves that I feel the music, but there's nothing synchronized. Every night could be different.
Right.
And that was me. That's how I put it together. I did so many shows by myself at Banana Boat, at Rick's Bar, at Casanova's as Rudy Gil, that I was like, man, I need to put a band together. I don't want to be on. That's a big stage to be yourself on,
Yeah.
So I said, I could see myself with a keyboard player. I need myself another, drummer and maybe a bass player. And then I'll look cool.
Yeah. And so how did you go curating?
I went to see a band. I went to see a band one night and I was at the Beat Club because Carlos Meneses was playing Why Did You Run Away at the Beat Club. So I went to the Beat Club. He says, I'm going to play your record tonight. We have a live band, blah. And I said, I'll swing by and listen to it. What time are you going to play my record? Because you would tell the DJs. Because he said, I'm going to play it around 1 o'clock peak time. Or I'm going to play your stuff in the beginning of the night. Or I'm going to play it in the middle. So you get to recording so you wouldn't sit around.
Yeah.
And I got there and there was this band called Silent Prayer playing. And it was the guy from... It was the lead singer of Erotic Exotic now. It was the keyboard player for Erotic Exotic. And I believe it was the drummer and guitarist for Erotic Exotic. And then Frank was the percussionist. And then I said to they played my song and he came up to me or I came up to him. I said, hey man, do you only play in this band? Yeah, he had the look, he had the long hair, cool guy, And he said, no, I play with this band, but what do you got? I go, no, I'm Rudy Gil and I got this song that's kicking butt. And I'm here tonight. They're going to play it tonight. And then, of course, he heard it. And he says, oh, yeah, man, I've heard that track, And I say, yeah, they're playing me all over the nightclubs. And I need like a percussionist. And I'm going to see if I can get myself like a keyboard player. Yeah. And at least with a guy in percussion and a keyboard player and then me on the guitar, that'll look cool. I cover left and right and I'm in the middle like a stereo field, And he said, oh, yeah, I love the stuff, man. Really cool. And he said, yeah, I'll play with you, man. And he was my first member, Frank Lords, who's Frank Martin. And that was it, got him first, got Bobby second because I had a song written called Too Blind to See, which is a ballad. Right. It was a ballad. And I wanted a sax solo in it. So I played the sax solo on the piano. Yeah. And I told Bobby, this is what I want you to play, dun, 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 da-da-dee-dum, da-da-da-dum, da-da-dee-da, ka-da-da-da. And he played it, but of course, you know, being the musician he is, you know, he's like, and takes off with it, you know, staying in the pocket of the rhythm of the melody.
Yeah.
But he ripped it up, you know, he rips it up. And it was amazing. Too Blind to See, you know, great song. It's on the radio.
Yeah.
Something.
So for
more hits. And then finally, you know, then when I run into Dave, who Dave played keyboards, and I got Dave to play keyboards for us, and he was really cool. He's very into Duran Duran, so he had that cool look.
He had the cool look.
Had the two keyboards. I go, do you actually know how to play? He wasn't a great player, but it was cool. So it would, for what I needed, was more than enough.
Was all you needed.
And that's how it started.
So from the time you literally mix this song by yourself, they start playing it on the record, to popping, like that you're playing sold out crowds, that you're, you know, getting more and more hits. What's that time period?
God, I would say a whole year of Rudy Gil, of trying to put the band together, at least a year. Yeah. Close to a year, maybe a year and a couple of months. I'm not sure. I know that by I know it was in 85. I know that by late 86. 86, 87, we released Find Yourself. Right. And then it's the band takes off. And then it really starts taking off. And then like Bobby is a band member. Dave is a band member. Right. Frank is a band member now. And then we wrote a song called Secret Society. Right. It was a song. Frank wrote it. Frank wrote the lyrics. And then I was always the music guy. Yeah. So I said, what's the song about, Frank? He goes, it's about people like us. I go, what do you mean, like people like us? He goes, you know, people that are different. Yeah. People that are daring or are, you know, want to be different. You know, they dress different. Their hair is different. I go, cool. So let me hear it. So I take the lyrics in a little piece of paper. Yeah. You know, I got my 106 keyboard and I got my drum machine, and on this one I just kept a steady beat because I loved the vibe. Back in the days, what was that song? How does it feel to treat me like you do? But it was steady. Yeah. So I didn't want to break up the beat. Like Miami was this. That's Miami for you. That's Miami. And then I said, no, I'm going to keep it steady. And then then the guitar. I said, I was probably the only guy. Not maybe the only, but let's say there wasn't many, but I was probably in Miami. I was probably the only guy incorporating a rock guitar with that beat in a dance song. Yeah. Because I was a guitar player. I got to figure it out. Yeah. I go, how do I do my own stuff? Right. With the sound. You know, and that's how I did it. You know, the D minor to the B flat to the fucking C to the G minor and the B minor to the B flat. Don't try to hide. Look, and then guitar solo in a song, which is cool. Yeah, you have a very unique sound. Wow, and don't try to hide the look in your eyes. You know, very cool stuff. You know, I love when you do that, dude. So, I mean, what part of Miami is in your music? I think the part of Miami that's in my music is if you listen to all the songs, my dad plays congas on all the songs. On all your songs? On Find Yourself, the intro is my dad. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right. And then so you hear my dad in there. Very cool. And so you get... It's cool. It's like, wait a minute, where's this? You don't really know where it's going until you hear that. That's the Miami. I used to call it the pterodactyl, which is was a sound on a DX7, and I would play the octave in a D minor. And it just would go. I felt like a bird, like a giant pterodactyl, like the dinosaurs coming from the sky, and then the bass line, you know, and you got the and it's just building. And Find Yourself is a powerful, in-your-face kind of song, you know, with really good lyrics. Frank put most of the lyrics together, and it's about, you know, people that are seeing everything around them so dark, or you're in such a bad time of your life. Yeah. But there's always a little hint of light out there somewhere for you, you know, no matter what. And that's what the song is basically about. I told you the story that I was walking down Lincoln Road. Yeah. And there was a man my age. This was only about 5-6 years ago. And he's sitting with his wife or girlfriend at Lincoln Road having breakfast. I was there early for a little thing that I went to get. And he says to me, Rudy Gil. And I'm walking, and, you know, he stops me, and I turn around and I say, yeah, what's up? And he says to me, man, you saved my life. I go, excuse me? And I said, in what way? He goes, that song, Find Yourself, saved my life because I was on a road that was really bad. And when I heard that song, it gave me life. I knew I had, it just saved me, Rudy. And I thank you for that. So like I told you while we were having lunch, Dan, that alone, if you have a purpose or a meaning in your life,
Yeah.
like I told you when we were having lunch, I mean, I could die tomorrow, and if I think whoever's in charge of this whole planet,
Yeah.
and the energy and the oceans and the tides, has got to be, hey, you did a great job, bro.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Right.
And then, hey, just take your shoes off, kick it back, you're done.
I mean, what does that hit you like? You're random on a Sunday morning going to go grab coffee. Some guy says, "Your music saved my life when I was in a dark period."
Dan,
I mean, it must have hit you like a
look,
ton
it
of
makes
bricks.
my eyes.
Yeah. It was crazy when you told me the story at lunch. I was like, "Wow, man,
that's deep, man.
It's super, super deep."
That's like, wow, dude. Like,
yeah, man.
Like, you'd love to tell your mother that, and your dad. You'd like to tell the world that, right?
Yeah, man, you should be super proud.
But it's personal. It's like, hey,
yeah,
I
man.
saved this kid's life. When he was young, he was probably a 17, 18-year-old.
Confused.
Lord knows what. I didn't go
Yeah.
into details with him. I was maybe 25, 26 when I was 26 when I was writing that song, 27, and he might have been an 18 or 17 or a 14-year-old
Yeah.
kid. I don't know.
Right.
I know he's younger than me.
Yeah.
But if you can save somebody from going to the other end,
Yeah, man.
I mean,
Put a smile on their face just for the
priceless.
day. It's priceless.
priceless. I mean, music has that kind of power.
it really does.
Music has that kind of power.
What's your writing process like? So, like you've told me what your day starts like, right? You wake up, you make a little Cuban coffee, and then you start playing the guitar. Like,
Yeah.
What is your music writing? And by the way, do you still write?
I write all the time.
Do you really?
Absolutely. I just wrote a song that has over 219,000 downloads
No way.
called Till I Met You.
Wow.
And I am really hot with my biggest demographics are 18 to 35 years old. And I am a 63-year-old man.
Why do you think that is? And
I think I stay current.
Okay.
I love to listen to all kinds of music. I go on when I get home sometimes, not every day, but a lot of the times. I'll go to Apple and I want to hear what's hot. What is hot? What are the kids listening to these days?
Right.
From everything. And I listen to everything. I listen to Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
And I want to analyze why he's so popular. I listen to I can go from Bad Bunny to 38 Special or Boston, More Than a Feeling, or listen to that and absorb that. Tom Scholl's great guitar player. And I want to know the why of things.
Right.
Why Bad Bunny and not all the other 10 million?
Crazy, right? Yeah.
And there's got to be something, because some people tell me, oh, the guy sucks. I don't understand anything he says. I said, he doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's something about him that's working, and that's what you need to analyze.
Yeah, and it connects with people.
Not that he understand them,
Right.
or I hate reggaeton.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't listen to it all day either.
Right.
But if there's something, if Dan wrote a song and it's the biggest song right now, I'm like, why is Despacito?
Right. But it takes off.
That's the biggest selling song ever.
Yeah, it's mega.
And why? Because
Why?
there's other songs that have been probably melodically just as catchy.
Yeah.
Or just as cool, or just as
What
pretty.
do you think it is? Those hit songs like that.
I really
what do you
think that there's something magical, and there's like an extra sparkle done. I think it's where the music cohesively, from vocalist to guitar player to bass player to drums, and we have something really, really, really special here.
Yeah.
I think all songs are special, all of them. They're not all going to be hits because some record companies don't want them to be hits. Some things are shelved. Some things are really pushed down your throat where you might not like it, but before you know it, you're humming it.
Yeah.
Because I've shoved it down your throat so many times that you are singing it.
Which I find a lot of songs like that. Like they bash around, and then you're just like, oh yeah, it's kind
For
of
example,
catchy.
I say to myself, when I was playing with a couple of guys in Nashville about 2 years ago, and I went to this really cool record store. It was like a listening room, really cool. Like I had mega speakers on the floor, the Macintosh preamps and turntables to listen. He had a vinyl store. And when I walked in with these guys, and he was playing Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Really cool song, very dark. I really couldn't understand what she was saying. Her voice is mixed really low with the instruments, not
Yeah.
like your typical, the singer's a little more in front.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it, because obviously she's not a Celine Dion. She's
No.
not a major vocalist, but she has something magical.
Yeah.
And there's another one of the artists that I listen to all her stuff and say to myself, why are all these little girls going to see,
They love her.
Billie Eilish and mom and dad are paying $400 a ticket
Right.
for their 17 or their 15 or their 13-year-old kid to go see Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
And she is some way or another communicating to these kids, to the masses, and the masses are listening.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look at also, let's take the other lady, Kelsey's girlfriend, you know,
Taylor Swift.
let's look at Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. I mean, the woman is selling.
I like that you know her as Kelsey's girlfriend.
I know her as Kelsey's girlfriend. I follow Kelsey more than her, but, you know, and it's just something, they're doing something right.
They're doing
Dan.
something right.
It's not just because.
Yeah.
It's definitely not just because.
What's your sound like now? So you've evolved. You've got a
It's
song that's
very
real popular
poppy.
right now.
It's very, very,
Like what?
very
Did
poppy.
you take it back in time a little bit? Maybe a little
You could
freestyle
tell there's an
sprinkled in?
80s vibe to it.
Okay.
There's an 80s feel to it, but it's pop. It's definitely a poppy, cool. That's why I listen to Apple Music.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear what the sounds are, how the songs are even being mixed.
Mhm.
Because things are mixed sometimes really hot,
Yeah.
more laid back, warmer, organic-y, in your face.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on what you want your crowd to listen to. And I'm staying more of a easy to listen to, easy to sing along. I think that's
Yeah.
always been my forte. You know, it's always easy to sing, why did you run away from me? I will never know. Find yourself, I know you can. Take my hand, dun, dun, dun. You know, you and me, we belong together.
There we go. You got me singing.
Right. It was always about, I know Dan can follow along with me. You don't have to be a major singer
Totally.
to follow along with Rudy Gil.
Totally.
I sing them in the pocket. I sing them nice and in tune,
Yeah.
but they're fun to sing along. Kind of like the Beatles were. That's why I think the Beatles were so big, because
Good point.
they were so melodically simple.
Yeah.
You know, she loves you, yeah.
You catch on that song in
yeah.
a
How can
second.
you not sing
And
she
it doesn't
loves
leave your
you,
head.
yeah?
Right. Yeah.
And with a heart like that, you know you could be.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, man.
Anybody
Yeah,
can sing that.
You're hooked.
Right?
You're hooked.
Right, you're hooked, right? I'm not trying to be, you know, some other guy. I'm not Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody can sing Bublé. You know, you don't have that thing. You
Yeah.
know? But everybody could probably sing a little follow along with, you know, a Rudy Gil.
Yeah, Rudy
You know?
Gil. All right, so take me back, the 80s. So you've hit it big, the band's out on the road. What was that like? So you went within a year and a half, you're on the road.
We're playing a lot on the road.
You're playing a lot. You were opening for some big bands, right?
From some big bands, you know, some bands that were on the same record company. Tears for Fears, we were on Polygram Records. We got a record deal.
Yeah, you got a record deal.
So, you know, we're playing universities along the East Coast.
Yeah.
Where it's really cool. Making good money as young guys.
Yeah.
You know, we're pocketing a lot of money. We're young. You got to be responsible. You got to make the deadlines. The next show, the next show, the next show. It's tough. It's tough. You got to stay focused,
Yeah.
which I know a lot of bands do not. A lot of the guys get caught up with all the perks that come with
Yeah.
music, to include girls and you know,
Take me behind the scenes. What was that like? You're a
you know,
handsome man. You're in your 20s. You got
you're
some
in your
coin.
20s.
You're opening for Tears for
you're
Fears.
invincible. You hear your voice on the radio.
Yeah.
You're at the beach, like
It's an
me.
ego boost.
Like I'll give you a story. Excuse me. I'm at the beach.
Yeah.
You know, South Beach. Everybody would go to, remember 5th Street, 6th
Of course.
Street,
Of course.
Ocean
Penrods,
Drive,
yeah.
park. It was easy to park. It was
Yeah,
nothing
it was
like it was
great.
today.
It was great.
It's 1989.
Yeah.
Right now it's 1988, 89.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there on the beach. I took my little chair, my little aluminum chair with
Yeah.
black nose. And I'm sitting there with my little thing. No umbrella, because when you're young, you know, you can take all that kind of sun.
Yeah.
And I'm there, and then everybody had those big boom boxes. Remember the
I remember,
radios
of
that were
course.
hot from Radio Shack, and
Yeah,
you buy
yeah,
the big
yeah.
one with the big speakers. And I hear one time, I'm listening to Y100, or I don't know what station it was, but I could hear, because I'm close enough to that little party of like 4 or 5 girls sitting together having fun. And I got my baseball cap on, you know, got the long hair all picked
Yeah.
up, and Why Did You Run Away comes on.
Oh my God.
And then, you know, I think it was 96X. It wasn't even called Power 96.
Uh-huh.
It was 96X. You're listening now. Coming up next, Secret Society, who, by the way, will be playing this Saturday night. You know, they would do all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
this Saturday night over at Rick's Bar. So Secret Society, everybody. And dun, 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 dun. And I'm there sitting like, oh my God, how cool is that? And there he goes. And the girls get up and the girls start dancing, and they're putting the radio maybe a little louder. And I'm like, and I'm saying to myself, if these 4 girls knew that the singer,
the singer is right next to them.
The singer's about 15 feet behind them.
That's when you got to make your move, man.
Well, I was a shy kid.
You were a shy kid.
I was a shy kid.
But the women must have thrown themselves at you.
I was shy. Dan, if it wasn't because I was I gotta tell everybody, if Mark Anthony wouldn't be a singer, I don't think he'd have a lot of women.
That is true. That is true.
When you weigh 120 pounds, soaking wet, and you're not the most handsome guy, and you're not tall. You don't make a big impression when you walk into a room. You're lucky you got a great voice, boy. So
how do you keep the band together? I mean, the band has been obviously you.
Well, the band becomes like a family. The band becomes almost like family members. You start caring for each other. You
argue like brother and sister.
You argue. I don't think that needs that shit in this song, man. Frank, you gotta lay back, man. We all got our egos.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or Rudy, sing like this, try this, and I'm like, nah, man, sounds great as it is. I don't need to try that. Stupid shit.
Life
like that.
gets in the way.
Now you're telling me now as a even more established singer and a better musician, obviously, and you tell me a guy like you, I could take criticism from a guy like you right now, because now it's all about getting it right, and you never know what somebody might know.
Yeah,
that you don't. I could learn something from Frankie.
Sure.
On the guitar.
Yeah.
He might do something that I've never seen done. And he said, no, but I'm just starting out, but you never know.
You never know. Right.
You never know. You could be an established guitar player. And I have this little technique. I said, I'm going to do that on my next song,
and bring it out.
And now it's cool. Now I don't know what happens to us men. We get a little softer as we get older,
Sure.
I don't know.
When
you have a daughter, when you have a female puppy.
I was about to say, you have a female puppy.
And you're willing to sacrifice or take chances, or you're willing to listen.
Yeah.
And your barriers aren't as strong.
I like the softer
anymore.
side of Rudy.
Huh?
I like the softer side of Rudy. I'd love to have seen you at 25 years old. I mean, I've seen your videos.
What?
You're a wild man.
Dan, I was a cocky motherfucker.
Yeah, I know you were. You
I thought it was all that. I thought it was all that.
You were all that.
When you're on the radio, Dan.
Yeah, man.
And you're at a Specs, and you're at a Specs record store.
That was hot stuff.
And you take posters with you, and the line of Specs is going out to Dadeland Mall, because remember Specs, and it's full of young girls, and and the girls are just dying to be with you.
Yeah.
And you're on the radio and you go in the car, and then you go to a nightclub, and the nightclub is packed, and a guy like Barry Horowitz, from the owner of 1235, tells you, hey, we got a record crowd tonight. And it was on a Sunday. I mean, who goes on a Sunday to a bar, to a nightclub? We did Calle Ocho that day. Secret Society played Calle Ocho in 1989. And that same Sunday, it's Calle Ocho Festival, we were playing at 1235.
Wow.
Okay, which nobody had ever played at 1235, but we decided let's do a night at 1235 right after Calle Ocho. Let's ride the wave. Let's see who goes. And we promoted it, and we said, we're going to be tonight. Hey, guys, see you tonight at 1235.
And everybody goes.
We had a record crowd. He said to us, we got more people here tonight than Lime, and Lime is the record crowd here. Wow. And that was on a Sunday, not a Saturday, not a Friday.
Sunday after Calle Ocho.
On a Sunday after Calle Ocho, we had a record crowd.
It's intoxicating.
And
how do you keep yourself grounded?
You go on stage, you go on stage, Dan, and you see a 1235. You could fit about 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And you see 3,000 people bobbing their heads,
singing along to a song you wrote,
singing along to something you created. Like I told Frankie, like what I was writing today.
Super cool.
Today in the morning.
Yeah.
Complicated was the name of the song.
Yeah.
It would have been called Complicated, which I have it in my head.
Yeah.
It hasn't been gone. It's not gone away. It's called Complicated. It'll be called Complicated.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. And just like that, you create something, and it becomes an energy.
Yeah.
It becomes something. It's like a being.
Yeah.
And people are singing it. And you say to yourself, I'm on top of the fucking world. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. There's no way. I got money. I got a car. I got a motorcycle. I got an apartment.
You got girls that love you.
I got girls in the front that I could just pick 3 if I wanted to, and be that kind of person. But I was a shy kid. I wouldn't take advantage of any of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't take advantage of any of that stuff.
And where do you think that sort of being grounded like that comes from?
The fishing.
The fishing, yeah. So that's the other part of your life. You're a great fish. That's how we met. Right.
The fishing would ground me.
Really? Why? Well, I mean, why? It takes you to a
It would take me
tranquil.
away from all that craziness. Everything was late at night. Everything was at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., limousines, drugs, girls, interviews, radio interviews,
Yeah,
record
you're not a
poster
partier.
signings, in-store signings, signing the 12
Yeah,
inches,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the signing the 12-inch singles. It was just, it was always like you were like the king of the weekends. King of the weekends. I was the king of the weekend. And
I love it.
and then, then Monday came or Tuesday, and then you had
Yeah.
nothing to do but go to meet with the guys, and maybe we're rehearsing Tuesday night or Wednesday night for the next show, or I'd get on my boat and go fishing. I'd go to the Keys and go fishing,
And
that would bring me back down to nature, the sun, fresh air.
yeah, just a
outdoor,
total different environment.
a whole totally different
Reset. It was your reset button.
like a reset button. Yeah, like let's just do a restart on the computer.
How is fishing like music?
Fishing with music is not. There might be a correlation with it as far as the patience.
Yeah.
Be patient. Let it. Don't put the record out till it needs to be out. Work on it a little more. Get that nice cast in there. Make sure you put a nice presentation in front of the fish. I like catching tarpon.
That's where I went.
So it's all about presentation, scoping it out, putting in the time, dealing with it. So it's if you want to call, don't try to rush. Don't try to rush the song, or don't try to get yourself on stage before you really need to be on stage, as far as you're not ready to be on stage yet. You're not ready to release the song. The song needs more work.
Yeah.
Don't let your ego get in the way of that. It's hard. It's easier said than done.
Yeah. A level of focus that you need.
But it's like a focus thing. It's a focus thing. It's like taking the time, putting the bait together, getting the right rods for the job, having the right instruments for the, you always need the right tools for the job, right?
Yeah. When you were a young guy, like most artists, and it breaks my heart when I hear these stories, did you sign a good record deal?
Huh?
Did you sign a good record deal?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Yeah. Oh, you did. Okay. We did. Okay, good.
I got lucky. We got lucky.
Why do you think you got lucky? Like what?
Because I think a lot of people sign contracts just to get.
They get desperate.
When you want to be a star, you'll do anything to be a star.
So you own your copyright and stuff like that, or
absolutely.
Wow. So you're rare, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think? Was it your dad that helped guide you?
My dad helped me a lot with that
because he saw the horror stories,
and we had an attorney, Sergio Rosenblatt, and he showed me the ropes, because you're new to all that, and you're ready to sign anything as long as I can get you on that stage. Yeah. If I tell you right now, hey, sign here, and you're going to open up for Mark Anthony in front of 17,000 people at the Quisqueya Center,
and you're starving, you're going to do it.
And if you're a musician or you're a new salsa guy,
right,
and you want to, hey, I'm going to put in my resume, I opened up for Mark Anthony in Miami,
right?
And a lot of people are going to see me tonight, and I tell you, well, sign here, and from your proceeds, you're giving me 25,000, and you only make 10.
Yeah,
but you signed.
And you're stuck.
Because
that contract.
It's so important to you to get on stage that you do the wrong thing. You make the wrong move.
Did a lot of the freestyle guys sign bad deals?
I'm sure.
They seem to be the type that would sign bad deals.
A lot of freestyle women sign really bad deals.
Really?
Yeah. Females got ripped off.
They got ripped off. It breaks my heart.
Especially because most of these producer guys were writing the songs. But I need a couple of cute girls to go on stage and sing it, and then giving them $100 a show when the club is paying me $2,500.
Yeah, right.
But the girls are so excited to go up there and be somebody,
and they own the
and
song.
make it and be famous, and be a hot famous girl singing songs in Miami. That I'm willing to do
they'll make that deal.
Where if I'm going to sing the song. But then again, I understand, because let's say Dan writes lyrics and music to a track, but Dan is not a singer.
Right.
What Dan is seeing about the stuff he's writing is, I see a female singing my stuff.
Right.
With two background dancers.
And she's a fantastic performer.
She's just a performer for me. I just need a ghost performer to interpret my jams.
Right.
So Dan is the originator, and Dan is the magic.
Yeah, he should get the lion's share.
But Dan, when push comes to shove, is ripping these girls off.
Yeah.
Big time. Because the girls are the one that are putting in the work. I'm sure it's easy for Dan to write the tunes and put them together. Because it's easy for me.
Right.
So if I were to say, let's say I get a guy like your producer here, Frankie, and let's say he's got 3 more guys in the band, and I see them as the next, I don't know, queen.
Yeah, right.
Okay, the Miami queen here. They got something I never heard before, and I'm putting these songs together for them, and I'm going to produce everything and tell them how to sing it and how to do it and how to. hit the drums on this one and how to play this and how to do we need a lead on this song or not. I'm going to probably benefit more than if it was the 80s. Today, though, this Rudy Gil would not do that.
No.
I would totally tell them, guys, I'm going to keep 15 or 20%, okay? And you guys are going to keep the other 75 or 80, whatever that is, whatever it is. And I think that's really, really fair. Trust me, I know what I'm telling you.
Really?
Okay? And you guys keep if you guys wrote the songs, but I'm going to polish, you're bringing me the rough diamonds and I'm going to polish them, then you guys keep your copyrights, because that's how your kids are going to be able to eat in 30 or 40 years from now. I don't know. You're all young guys.
Right.
I have less time on this planet. You guys have more time left here.
Yeah.
So keep your publishing, copyright your music, keep the publishing. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I have my own songs.
You have your own songs.
And that's, I want to sleep at night.
Yeah, you don't want to be the dirtbag manager that your
not
reputation.
That kind of guy. That's not me. I want these guys to say.
Well, and you're also a true musician. You're not a manager.
I'm a true musician who now loves to produce my own stuff.
Right.
Have taken producing to a whole new angle.
Yeah.
Okay. And I produce my own shit, and I produce it in a whole different way that I was doing. I was not a producer in 1989.
Right.
We were just putting songs together as best we could. I didn't even know how to produce a damn record.
Yeah.
I was just playing, and we were
Performing
lucky. Good stuff, good theory, good songs put together. Thank God, and luck. And Lady Luck was on our side.
Well, and you're also super talented. All right, I can't let you go without talking about one of my favorite subjects, freestyle and freestyle music. It seems that there's a bit of a renaissance coming back.
There's a big movement.
Why do you
there's
think?
A big movement.
Why do you
like,
think this
not
is?
just a movement? There's almost like a tsunami of
stuff. What's going on?
I think it died for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It died for a little bit, not for a little bit, for a while, for years. And guys like Stevie B, tenacious guys, doing their thing, keeping it alive.
Yeah,
not letting. It's almost like even if the heartbeat was only at 20 beats per hour, but it was beating.
Yeah,
guys like that. Because a guy like me, I produce my new stuff. I was not playing freestyle.
Yeah.
I rather stay with the sign of the times. I thought myself, I don't see it anymore. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm putting songs like, I Can't Hold On, songs like Can You Keep It a Secret, songs like, Till I Met Ya, which is kicking butt.
Yeah.
And I wasn't re-releasing a freestyle song, trying to make it 2024, 2025, where these guys were still playing their old jams. He's trying to shove those old jams down your throat.
Well, I think it's a couple things. If I had my theories, number one, it always cracks me up that music only took off in Miami, New York, New Jersey, and then they'll be like sprinkled somewhere else.
Some little sprinkles here and there. But look at Brazil. Look at Stevie taking advantage of Brazil.
He's in Brazil now?
Brazil is a monstrous. Brazil is New York, New Jersey, Miami, and everything else all put together is Brazil.
It's for freestyle.
Yeah, my buddy, what's his other kid who goes there a lot? And I love his jam. Oh my God, I can't think of him. I am not just another lover.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you move to me?
Yeah.
Regwell. Regwell. And that guy, and he goes to Brazil, and I say, well, Rudy, why don't you go to Brazil? I go, I don't know, man. I'd rather sell a cobia. I make like $8,000 on a cobia. Brazil's gonna give me like 1,000, 2,000 bucks.
And I gotta fly to Brazil.
I gotta put it all together. I gotta rehearse. I gotta do this. I'm staying in Miami, man. I'm getting old. I don't want to go.
I think it's feel good music. The lyrics are catchy as hell.
Catchy as hell.
Talking. And maybe it's the grandfather of reggaeton. What do you think? Because it has that Latin influence.
There's something there that you can. You got a little something to say.
Maybe that's my theory.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that, Dan. It's the father of a lot of things, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Freestyle's cool because there was so much. You had the New York movement.
Correct.
Then you had the Puerto Rican freestylers.
Yes.
Then you had guys like TKA with that sound.
And a little
you
bit of
have a
house
George
music
Lamont.
spread. Yeah, George Lamont.
You know, you got a guy like Johnny
Expose.
O keeping it a little more cheesy. But then you got a guy like, you know, George Lamont putting a little more vocals into it. Then you got a guy like Stevie just coming up with great lyrics and hooks to sing along to, keeping it simple, stupid.
Simple, stupid, but people
You know, then
love
you had
it.
Secret Society with a little bit, like 20% of that Latino freestyle, but then giving it a new wave touch.
Yes.
So there was a lot of flair. Then you had the, you know, you had girls like the Cover Girls. You had Company B. I know Ish Ledesma, the guy who put Company B together is Ish Ledesma. He wrote all the songs, he wrote all the music. Great friend of mine, and he was the lead singer and guitar player for Foxy. Remember the song "Get Off to Get"? Ooh, from the late 70s and stuff. So that's him. And look, he was writing freestyle music for, you know, I'm fascinated by your love, boy.
Great song.
Great song,
Yeah,
right?
great song.
Great track. And
Hey,
so I think
music.
a lot of guys that come from different genres and different backgrounds, we're taking a stab at the freestyle.
Yeah.
Because the freestyle is what was happening.
Yeah.
So if oranges are hot, you're not going to be selling apples.
Right.
Right. So we got to jump on the orange bandwagon. And how do I write that kind of a song that I was the lead singer of Foxy?
Yeah.
How do I write that kind of song when I'm just a rookie musician who just graduated from UM and I'm trying to do something here? But I had that new wave, you know, background that I like those new wave bands. How do I get the new wave sound? But it was being done. New Order.
It's true.
Erasure. A band called Electronic, who is the lead singer of Erasure with the lead singer of the Pet Shop Boys.
I didn't know that.
And they put a song, you know, they have an album together, those two guys collaborating, and the name of the band is called Electronic.
Wow.
And listen to it. It's really good.
I'm going to check it out.
There's a song called Getting Away With It. Great track.
Great track
to listen to. You're going to like it. And so I think everybody was taking their stabs at it, Dan, and doing the best they can.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what created, I think, so many of the different freestyle sounds.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple of them. If you listen to them, they're different, you know?
Yeah, some are more Latino, some are more like
some are Latino, some are more laid back, some are
love
female
songs. Yeah, some are a lot of female. Yeah.
Then there's the collaboration, like say like Johnny O and Cynthia. You know, I'm your dream boy and I'm your dream girl. And they go back and forth with that kind of thing. So as you can see, you know, duets were even being done.
Duets,
But you know, I think, you know, it was a magical moment, and I think everything comes around. I mean, I love bootcut jeans. You know, we can call them bell bottoms if you want. Now they're called bootcut.
Bootcut,
they're cool. You know, still cool. You know.
Well, listen, I know you're a busy man, but I have a couple rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Your Mount Rushmore of freestyle.
Wow.
You have 4.
Got Stevie B, right?
You got to be Stevie B.
Stevie B. I think George Lamont was really good.
Yeah, really good.
I think so. I saw as a single guy out there doing it.
Yeah, he had a bunch
on
of
stage
hits.
by yourself. I think Secret Society made a movement.
There you go.
I think Secret Society put a face on there, and I'm going to say Expose.
Expose. There you go. All right, you could collaborate with one artist. Who would it be? In
anybody?
Sound. Any sound. Yeah.
Any genre?
Any genre of music.
Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox. You and Annie Lennox would make a great duo.
Yeah, we both have that dark sound.
Yeah, and you have a little Latino flavor. It could mix well with the redhead. She's really cool.
Very talented.
Well, my next question, I think I already know the answer, but
or wait a minute, Dan. Can I pick 2 in case Annie Lennox says I don't want to sing with you?
She might not want to sing with you. She's busy.
Sade.
Yes, she's just cool. She's the best.
Oh, I wish I would have brought my guitar.
Damn.
Yesterday I was playing the A major 7. By the way, Frankie, A major 7 and D major 7. Your love is king. Crown you with my heart. Your love is king.
Yes.
You're the ruler of my heart. Your kisses ring. And then that whole B minor. Round and round and round again. Touching the very part of me. I love Sade because she just goes on stage, has that monotonic voice. She can sing all freaking night.
Yeah, and by the way, outside of music, I don't even know what she sounds like. You never see her anywhere.
No.
She's just like, she comes, she performs, and then she just disappears.
She's a very special person. You could tell. It's something magical.
I hope she just heard you sing that, because maybe there may be a collab.
I would love to sing with her, boy.
Okay. Lisa or Expose? think I know the answer to that.
Me personally, Expose. Even though Lisa put a good mark. That's a good one. That's
a good one.
I give Lisa a lot of credit. She's got, and she crossed over into a good pop market.
She did cross over. She's one of the few freestyles
One of the few who put some pop jams together with a nice record company contract.
That is true. She had a bigger career, I think, than most people would give her credit for.
Yeah, she was good.
All right.
I like her.
Much respect. Most underrated band.
Wow. Overall?
Overall, you pick. It's your
most underrated band. Foreigner.
And they're still going strong, right? They're still touring. My brother saw them.
Got to be one of the best rock bands I've ever heard. Besides Foreigner and Kansas.
Really?
Yeah. Those guys are just amazing musicians.
Funny story. I went to Cuba in 2009, and I get there.
Great musicians.
They love Foreigner and Kansas. Every cabbie I got into, it's Foreigner, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And they're like, look, man, there was a certain period of that we didn't get any new music. And this was one of the periods that we still had these songs. And it played regularly. Right? So it was super cool. All right. One last question. It's very important. One word to describe Power 96.
Power 96?
Yeah. One word to describe Power 96. The home of DJ Laz. The birthplace of Pitbull and so many great freestyle artists. And maybe the guys who kicked you off.
Trendsetters.
With that said, Rudy, you have some tour dates coming up.
I'll be May 30th. I'm doing an Unplugged, which is one of my favorite ways to perform over at a place called Hole 19. I've never been, but I'm excited that DJ Alex and DJ Sonic hired me. They think I would be a good match to start their night. Mm-hmm. And then on June 21st, we have a really great concert coming up with a lot of the singers we just spoke about. Expose, Stevie B, Erotic Exotic, myself, a lot of guys coming up. I think Fresh Beat, I'm one of those guys. I don't remember the band, but anyways, at least like 10 acts, and we're going to be at Vivo Live over there at Dolphin Mall.
Dolphin Mall, yeah.
And that should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be playing guitar with Stevie on stage. And
awesome.
He's a good friend of mine, and it should be a lot of fun, Dan. I hope to see you there.
I hope to be there.
You can swing by, and if I can hook you up to come backstage and ask the artist questions, you just let me know, and I'll try to get that for you. That'll probably be really cool for you.
It would be an honor. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Another thing that people don't know, you're a great follow on IG when it comes to fishing.
I am.
You can see everything he catches.
I am as passionate about my fishing as I am about my guitar and piano playing.
Yeah, it's impressive. He's a good follow.
I do my thing. I think I'll fish for the rest of my life.
What's your handle on IG?
My what?
Your name on IG.
Captain Rudy Gil.
Captain Rudy Gil. That's right. I follow you. And he's really cool, man. Definitely know. And
I'm always I try to get out there as much as I can. The sun is hot. We're not getting any younger, but I battle those tarpon all the time.
Good stuff. Rudy, Daisy, thank you for coming on the show,
Daisy's
man.
Here with me.
Best of luck.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Right,
thanks for having me. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. Once again, I want to thank our sponsors, D2C Design, your design firm for anything related to Shopify, e-commerce, and your website needs. Again, you can find them at d2cdesign.com. Thanks.